Concept of the paradox of choice, popularized by psychologist Barry Schwartz, shows us that contrary to what we might think, more options do not always lead to better decisions. In fact, an excess of possibilities can paralyze us, increase our anxiety, and lead to constant regret. This phenomenon, when applied to modern love, explains many of the challenges we face when searching for a partner. Take dating apps, for example. With a simple swipe of a finger, we have access to thousands of profiles, each with its own characteristics, interests, and promises of compatibility. While this seems revolutionary, the reality is that so many options create the illusion that there's always someone better just around the corner. Instead of investing in real connections, we get lost in the endless search cycle. Additionally, the paradox of choice feeds the fear of making definitive decisions. What if I regret it? We think. This constant doubt prevents us from forming deep bonds because we're always evaluating alternatives, often imaginary ones. The psychological effects are clear: increased anxiety, chronic dissatisfaction, and difficulty committing. We're trapped in an endless pursuit of perfection, forgetting that perfection doesn't exist. In the end, the abundance of choices doesn't bring freedom, but an emotional burden that distances us from what truly matters. The impact of the paradox of choice goes far beyond the moment of decision. In the context of modern relationships, the excess of options shapes our behaviors and expectations, often in harmful ways. Instead of strengthening connections, it often generates superficiality and insecurity, distancing us from true intimacy. One of the main consequences is the superficiality of initial interactions. With so many options at our fingertips, connections tend to be treated as disposable. If it doesn't work out, just try with someone else. This mindset turns potential relationships into mere transactions, where the focus is on the next profile rather than the present moment. Furthermore, the fear of missing out, the famous FOMO, creates unrealistic expectations. Constant comparisons, fueled by social media and dating apps, lead to chronic dissatisfaction. We often idealize the options we haven't explored, causing us to overlook the value of what we have right in front of us. These dynamics also generate a growing sense of loneliness. Instead of building deep bonds, we end up stuck in cycles of searching and comparing. The result? Less meaningful connections and an emotional emptiness that seems impossible to fill. By understanding these consequences, we begin to realize that the problem isn't just the number of options, but the way we approach them. The solution lies in rediscovering what truly matters in a relationship and prioritizing quality over quantity.
I am single, but currently dating, and I've been finding myself in a lot of those same situation with text messaging and men these days. One guy, I met him, but we never got around to go on a date because every single day he would text me, "Hey," or "Hello." After a while, I got annoyed, so I kind of told him, "Hey, by the way, what's your deal? Because you keep texting me those one word and you keep saying the same hey every day." So instead of responding, like the very next day, he texted me, "Hola," just to mix it up a little. So I felt like, right. So I guess he was probably paying attention, but at the same time, that's really not the point. The point is like every single day you're texting me, "Hey," not like, "Hey, would you like to go on a coffee? Would you like to meet up?" Nothing, just "Hey." So at some point, I'm just asking, because this happens like a lot these days. I don't know what's the text messaging business now, but it becomes so confusing. I just don't respond anymore. So why do men just take the time to text "hey" to a woman like every single day?
Because they've gotten away with it before. They go "hey," and then some woman goes, "Hey, how you doing?" And then they engage. You don't have to do this. You really don't. You mind if how old you are?
Oh, I'm 37.
37.
I look like 16, but yeah.
No, I mean, you look a lot younger than that. But let me explain something to you. Why y'all put up with this? You're in your 30s. The hell you texting for? Excuse me. I do verbal communication. Click. Text him back. I do verbal communication to get to know who people really are. Send. That's it. A guy texting you, hey, you don't gotta justify that. You ain't gotta respond to that, man. A man's supposed to talk to a woman. Man's supposed to have a conversation with a woman. You can't learn a guy through texting.
I feel like everyone secretly wants to date, but no one is willing to say it. Asking someone on a date is so much of a bigger deal than hooking up, because with the hookup, it's casual. You might not see the person again. You don't need to have a legitimate interest in them. You do it in the dark at an off-campus party, and then you don't have to see them ever again. But with like a date, you know that the person is interested in you, knows what you look like in the light, and it's really hard to expose yourself like that.
I would definitely say there's a lot more hooking up going on, and it's kind of rare to see someone dating, but when I do see them, I definitely applaud them. That's great.
You know, they tell you that life is gonna go super fast. Well, it does go fast. And then they tell you college is gonna be like crazy and like you should meet all these people, and you really should, because it's hard to meet people when you graduate. I wish dating would be more straightforward. I met this guy on Tinder and we've been going out for, I don't know if that's even like the proper way to say it, but we'd be literally going out for like 3 or 4 weeks, and so I just like to know things like what they are, and so I asked him like, so what's the deal? And he's like, well, like we're dating, but we're not dating. So I'm like, okay. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I asked him like, you know, like, what do you want from me? And he froze. Anything would have been great. Anything. I wanna get to know you. I don't know. I'm confused. Anything. But nothing. It just drives me nuts. I don't feel that a lot of people from my generation know what our end goal is. Like our parents by now, my mom she already had my brother. And she was pregnant with like my sister. It has been really hard to find a good guy. I don't know why. I don't know what I do. I don't know, like, I don't know why am I single?
Why is a person reluctant to be fully in the relationship? Half in the relationship, half out of the relationship. Well, one of the mistakes we make with this is that we kind of assume that their lack of readiness to commit is a sign of immaturity. Now, I want to just take a different approach to this. Let's just start off with the assumption here, or the idea that their lack of commitment or their lack of readiness to commit is logical. It makes perfect sense from them. From their perspective, it makes a lot of sense that they're just not ready to commit. And of course, from the other person's perspective, it feels like they're half in, half out, and it drives them up the wall. That's for sure. There's no doubt about that. But why is it logical? You know, we could easily label it as immature or something. But let's just give it some due respect for a minute and see where it's coming from. Because it can be something that you can move past and get to a place where the person is ready to make a commitment. But just labeling that issue they have as immature is not going to help. We need to really understand it, because understanding it helps both partners move through it. So really, this is the equation. It's pretty simple. A person will be unwilling or unready to make a full commitment to a relationship if they think that life in the relationship is not as good as life outside the relationship. Okay, now that might seem like I'm stating the bleedingly obvious there, okay? But I'm just going to say it again. As long as they think life in the relationship is not as good as life outside the relationship, they will not make a full commitment.